What up, everybody? It's Aaron here with Robert, and this is Get Your Geek On, and this is our review of the Disney Plus new show,
Hawkeye. We are talking the first 2 episodes, spoilers, and this is just, kind of a discussion of the show. We're not going to go beat by beat or plot point by plot point, anything like that. We're just going to share with you a little bit about what we saw, what we noticed, what we liked, maybe if there's anything we didn't like, and, basically have a fun time talking about the show.
Yeah, it came out basically Thanksgiving.
The first 2 episodes. The day before Thanksgiving, we got the first 2 episodes, and it's going to be running weekly on Wednesdays, basically right up until Christmas.
Excited. And then Boba Fett drops after that, right?
Yep.
Or sometime around then.
Yep. Next week, I think.
Disney, I don't know. I like the first 2 episodes. They
Yep.
did that with WandaVision. WandaVision, I think, needed that, though. I think
agree.
they needed a good kickstart.
It seems like with this show, this was about timing. It was about, they wanted to finish it off before Christmas.
Exactly.
And you can tell, again, spoilers with the show, that the show is set in the week leading up to Christmas. Very much, like the first episode is 6 days until Christmas. The second episode is 5 days until Christmas. So it feels like we're going to have 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. Like each episode is going to be roughly the equivalent of a day.
Exactly.
In the life of Hawkeye and Kate Bishop.
Poor Hawkeye. I want to say this though.
Yeah.
So again, we're not going to shed that we're talking spoilers. We are.
Yep.
Man, he is that rundown dad that's just like, I just want to go sleep. I need a cold beer in my hand. Why am I hate everybody. Like, that's where he's at. I
think that clearly he's trying to make up for lost time.
He is.
With his kids, and he's trying to, reconcile with the things that he did. And so he's dealing with a lot.
He has a lot of demons.
Jeremy Renner is a fantastic actor, and I think that even though Hawkeye has not really gotten a lot to do in these movies,
right?
There's always been something more to the character because of what Jeremy Renner brings.
Yeah,
and so being able to explore that in his own show, I think is really great. And I have to tell you, Haley Steinfeld, I've liked her in a lot of stuff, and she was in that Bumblebee movie, and she was really good in that. And she's a very talented actress, and I am loving her as Kate Bishop. I think she's been doing phenomenal.
She nailed every scene she was in. So Jeremy Renner too. I don't know much on his work, but like you said, he never had the biggest role in the movies, but he had sometimes the most important role. He got in Age of Ultron. I think sold it the best for me.
Yeah.
The lines that he talked to Wanda about being there. I'm just a guy with an arrow. And then we got to see the part where it's like, okay, I got a safe house basically for us to go to, and it was his family. We got introduced to all of them in the films, and then of course in Endgame that was his Kickstarter.
The opening of Endgame being on his farm with his family and his kids, like you really see, just the confusion, the hurt, the anger, all of that stuff. And then throughout that movie, his arc of dealing with the pain of my family was taken and these criminals are still here, and him using that to basically kill them. And then you see when Natasha shows up and he's like, "Don't give me hope." It's like he's so far down the rabbit hole, and even all the way up to that scene where he wants to make the sacrifice play, and at this point he's probably got survivor's guilt. Yeah, that he has to have some type of PTSD. He survived and Natasha didn't, and I think that he still feels like he's the one that deserved to die. Yeah, based on his actions.
Yeah, and I agree with 100%. And I want to touch on one. It's a very small detail, probably to everybody, but I think it was a great detail. So we know it involves the Ronin Saga, where he was killing, like you said, he was murdering all these criminals. And that's what this is revolving around. Quick synopsis is that Kate Bishop ends up with the Ronin suit, and she gets seen by it. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, she's back!"
Right,
what's going on?
Nobody knew who the Ronin was.
No.
Like that was the identity was always hidden. Nobody knew it was Clint Barton.
Exactly.
So that's important.
So we get Clint trying to get the suit back. And he like you said, he's kind of torn. Go be with his family on Christmas. I guess like you said, the week before Christmas to make the gingerbread houses and all that. But he has to kind of reconcile with his past with this Ronin suit. Now he calls his wife after he retrieves it from a guy who's playing LARP with it. By the way,
great scene.
That was amazing.
It was so much fun to just see like the dead in his eyes and the life in everyone else. And like the slow down scene where he's just like destroying everyone.
He is.
it was a lot of fun.
It was funny.
Yeah.
So he gets the suit back, and again, a small detail, calls the wife, says, I'm going to be late because he has to take care of this.
Yeah.
But it seems like she knows everything about Ronin.
Yeah.
And I like that
Clearly.
that he told her everything.
Absolutely.
And I love that we have this relationship that we really haven't seen too much on screen.
Very little.
But every time she's on there with him or we see her, I love it because it shows how caring they are, how much of a great couple they are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like how many men people in general would have done what he did and just not say anything? Just be like, yeah, I missed you. I was just moping for 5 years.
Yeah.
No
No
secrets.
secrets.
No secrets. By the way, I murdered like everybody.
Well, and clearly he told her everything because there's even a point where he like mentions the tracksuit mafia and she's like, those idiots.
Yeah.
Like so clearly like he has shared everything about this. And I do love they are totally idiots. They're bro. Everybody's bro. And it's like that's a lot of fun.
So stupid.
It's great.
But we captured you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Just sitting here.
We get Lucky the pizza dog is in this series, which is cool. And there's a lot of really talented actors and actresses. Vera Farmiga playing Kate Bishop's mom.
Oh, okay.
Is really, I mean, she's bringing it in this series. The Swordsman, he's from Better Call Saul.
Okay, that's where
but I don't have his name offhand.
Same.
But yeah, Jacques Duquesne, is the character's name. And in the comics, he does have a history with Hawkeye. He was like he trained Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if that connection comes in at all. I don't know.
Because he doesn't know that that's her.
Yeah,
her
but I love that Hawkeye is again kind of assuming the mentor role unwillingly. Like it's not like he wants to do this, but he kind of has to. And the same thing happened with Wanda, as you mentioned. Like where we saw that connection in Age of Ultron, where he kind of was the one that motivated her to get back in the fight when she was kind of scared and freaking out.
Yeah.
And then all the way up until Civil War, which when he kind of shows up and recruits her and is basically like, it's time to go, like get off your butt, let's go, like stop moping around.
Exactly.
I know you're dealing with like your trauma, your PTSD, but hey, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And so that relationship between the two of them carried through all the way until Endgame when they're by the lake and they've both lost. She lost Vision, he lost Natasha, and he's like, I wish there was some way that we could tell him. And she kind of comes back like they know.
Yeah.
So you see that relationship is kind of progressed forward, and so that was really cool to see that, and now to get him again exploring that with a character like Kate Bishop. And obviously the mystery of the series is we see the murder of Armand Duquesne, who is in the series. I think he's the uncle of the Swordsman, of Jacques Duquesne.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out, she's trying to figure out what happened. She's seeing like some shady stuff with them. And so she's trying to, figure out what's going on. Hawkeye is just trying to basically just figure out who's behind these tracksuit mafia guys, what's going on with the Ronin suit, and get back to his family. Like that's clearly his motivation.
And they're crossing paths by coincidence right now.
And so it's been a lot of fun though, these first 2 episodes.
It has. I mean, we got to see Echo at the end of
end
the
of
second
episode 2.
So I'm happy we're getting that. That's our main villain for him, it seems like.
I don't think she's going to be the main villain of the series. I think, there's going to be someone else behind her.
So?
Mainly because we know she's getting her own spin-off series. They did announce that. And in the comics, she is someone who is raised by Kingpin and kind of trained by Kingpin to be, an assassin, but also then she discovers later that Kingpin was responsible for her father's death. Now, her father is cast in this series. We don't know if that's going to be a flashbacks or whatnot, if we'll see him at all. Or if we'll see Kingpin. Yeah,
so it could lead into Vincent D'Onofrio, because that's been a rumor that he's in this.
It has been.
So it would be cool to see if this is how we're going to get a tie to Daredevil, Punisher, everybody. Because if we bring in Vincent D'Onofrio, that means Charlie Cox and John Bernthal are technically in Marvel MCU finally.
I mean, we'll see. I have a feeling they're going to pick and choose.
You think so?
I think that all the actors we mentioned, D'Onofrio, Charlie Cox, and John Bernthal, I think if Marvel has their way, they're going to want all of them back.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they want Finn Jones back. So I think
Finn Jones
was Iron Fist. So
Oh yeah. No,
I
no,
think
no.
they're
We'll
going to pick
recast
and
him
choose.
probably.
They're not going to take everyone in, and they're going to play it slow. But again, there's rumors that Vincent D'Onofrio is either in this series or is going to show up on Disney Plus very soon. There's also rumors that Charlie Cox is going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Maybe as Daredevil, maybe just as Matt Murdock.
Either way,
or maybe not in
yeah.
it at all. I mean, we still don't know. These are all speculations and rumors. But I did read a cool theory, because this is now in Spider-Man Homecoming. It's mentioned again in this series that Stark Tower was sold by Tony. What if that was Wilson Fisk? What if the Kingpin is because there's been speculation for a while that it had become the Baxter Building with maybe the Fantastic Four, or maybe I think there were some people that thought maybe it was the Kang Tower, which was like a variant of Kang that bought it. There's been a lot of different people that have, but I would love it if it was Kingpin.
I forgot what building he owns in the comics. I can see it in my head, but I don't know which building. I'm sure someone from New York could be like, oh yeah, it's this one.
Yeah.
Because I know he owns one, but that would make sense because we haven't established where his headquarters is yet. And he's kind of come out of the shadows because he's been dragged out of the shadows, let's face it.
In the show, which again, we'll see how much of all... we don't know how much of the storylines are actually going to be used. I have a feeling they're going to pluck the actors and the characters, and they're not really going to reference any of the stories that were told before. It's almost like a soft reboot, is kind of what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering on, because at first... Yes, it was a tracksuit mafia coming in, but it also did have like almost a hand feel at times because of all this. I mean, I get it. He's Swordsman, and that's what he collects. Blah blah blah. But I wonder if they're going to try to start sneaking some hand stuff in there because it's kind of borderlining some of that feel.
Again, Echo is very tied up with Kingpin in the comics,
Yeah.
and so we know we're getting her in this series. We know she's getting her own series. Now, the one thing that I did want to speculate on, and this is total speculation.
Okay.
We do not see the death of Kate Bishop's father, right?
No, we haven't seen him die yet.
We see, during the events of the Battle of New York is when, Kate kind of becomes a fan of Hawkeye, sees him in action, really wants to be the protector of her family. We cut to the funeral of her father, and so the implication is that he died during the attack. We see some damage in the home,
and we see only a picture. We don't see a coffin or a burial plot.
So here's my theory.
Okay.
He's dead. I'm not saying that he's not dead. I think her mom used the attack as cover to kill him. I think her mom is totally evil, and I think is totally aware of all this stuff. I mean, we see her kind of having weird conversations with Armand Duquesne and like all that stuff. So I'm on this train that she's not who we think she is, that she's totally like
she's a Skrull.
Yeah, and honestly, again, in the comics, Kate Bishop's dad is actually kind of villainous.
Right.
And I just think they've kind of switched that. I think they've switched it to being her mom.
I mean, that would make sense because, we get the scene at the very beginning of the series where she sees Hawkeye. And that's so cool, by the way. I love how they did that. Like, she's seen him jump off the roof, do all the amazing stuff.
Well, and I read that they, basically reshot that whole thing.
Really? I didn't know that.
For this. And so they were, looking at the Avengers dailies to try and, recreate it as close as possible.
That's really cool.
There were a couple of things that I saw that pointed out, there's, when they cut to Stark Tower, the letters that are left don't match up with what's actually in the Avengers. They clearly messed that up. But that also tells you they didn't reuse the footage, which was totally shocking to me.
I thought it was reused.
When I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is just different angles and whatever. But no, they reshot almost all of it. I think they said there was one scene of Hawkeye jumping off the building, when he did that was repurposed. But even that, they did one with a stunt double for a different angle and stuff like that. So anyways, crazy. I thought it was cool.
That's really cool to do. I mean, they should go that extra mile and make your show look better. Now, we hear Kate's dad tell him, I'm going to go to my study, essentially, right? And he walks off camera, and then the explosion happens, and she's calling to everybody. Nobody's answering at first.
Which, again, feeds into my theory. Exactly. Mom was busy doing something.
Yeah.
And I think it was busy killing dad.
And that's why I'm starting to agree, because that makes sense. No one comes for a while. And then she shows up. Which, as a parent, if something like that is happening, the first thing you do
is go check on your kid.
We've already heard the dad even established
100%.
if there was like a what was it, a hurricane or something,
Yeah.
I would come to you first.
I would protect you.
So he's already commented that he would be there in a heartbeat. So he's missing, mom's missing, then mom shows up, and we don't even look for the dad. I was like, even when I was watching, I was like, why don't we just go and like glance? Because I don't know where the study is in this house, obviously. They don't establish that.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's the study that he's supposed to be in, and the mom doesn't even go look for him?
Well, you know, I think his head being cut off by a weapon probably would have tipped the daughter off.
Right? Mom, there was a gunshot, but they're not using guns outside. How did that work? Oh, it must have been Tony Stark, because he creates all his own villains. Hang on.
Exactly. So I do like that you just made that comment. So how many times have we seen the heroes in the MCU create their own villain? So this is cool that we finally have seen an inspiration of a hero. We know we're going to see that again with like Miss Marvel, with Kamala Khan. You know, like, so it's cool to see the other side of that coin.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just creating villains in this sense. You know, Hawkeye and his actions and the Avengers helped to create, you know, Kate Bishop, who will be an ongoing hero.
Yeah, who could be a young Avenger. I do want to say this. I love how, if you don't know anything about the comics, you don't know who Swordsman is really right now. And we got a taste of how amazing he is at his sword play, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you felt about that
cool
fencing scene, but I loved it. And then you get them fencing, and he's just toying with her. You can, even as I'm watching on camera, I know he's toying with her. And I was like, looks like he is going easy. She gets frustrated, and he's like, oh, you know, she knows he's lying about something at this point, and she's confronting him,
She
and is
slaps
like,
at his face, and he's just like,
yeah,
he just swats her away like a fly.
like nothing, and not even looking at her too when he did it, because he was looking at mom. He's like, oh, blah blah blah, ping. Yeah, you know, I was lying. I am a lot better than what I am. She is right. I'm lying, and then I'm just like, at any point he could have beaten her in that fight, which ease.
Yeah, and clearly, at some point there is going to be a confrontation between the two of them, where she's going to have to, you know, come out on top.
Exactly.
And we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I will just say, you know, I think we've been talking for quite a while.
Oh yeah.
These first 2 episodes have been a lot of fun.
They have.
Really been enjoying it. I think that it's been maybe even better than I was anticipating.
Oh yeah, I think so.
And, you know, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, so it's hard to say, but I'm very much enjoying this. And whether or not we get a Kingpin or any other big bad or anything like that, like, I'm just looking forward to the story that this is telling.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on the hilarious musical that's in this show.
I was trying to avoid that.
I mean, it was so meta and so much fun. Like, it's so ridiculous, and I love Hawkeye just like walking out of it. He's like,
he turned off his hearing aid.
Well, and when he goes out into the bathroom, like, that scene is very funny. Like, first he sees like graffiti that says Thanos is right, which, oh my god, like, can you imagine? Like, people are saying that in the real world, but if you're in the Avengers world and you were an Avenger that fought Thanos and fought to bring back half the population and still have people just go like, you messed up. Like, you know, we should have left half the population dead. Like, holy crap.
That's messed up.
But then to have like the fanboy just be like, can I get a picture with you? And he's like, this is not a good time. And the guy just stands behind him while he's washing his hands. It's like, is now a good time? And I'm like, oh my god.
There are so many people that would do that.
It's so meta of just like the life of a celebrity. Like, so I thought that was funny too.
I was cracking up, especially with the whole I could do this all day comments. It was just so... But the funny thing is, you see that everywhere after that. Like, there's a commercial, and it's playing on the TV. Yeah. There's posters of Rogers, the musical, and I'm like,
the biggest hit.
I want to know who wrote this. I'm still leaning that Loki somehow wrote this. I'm going to lean with Loki. Or Scott Lang. I think one of them wrote it.
A variant of Loki. Because remember, in this timeline, Loki is dead.
True. He is dead in this timeline. But... we've already established multiverse, and we're going to get way more of that in
maybe
2 weeks.
Alligator Loki.
That's very Loki of him, too. An alligator disguised as a human, really playing Loki, who's really going to be a Scott Lang's name or something.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is
so yeah, we've got Hawkeye. We've got 2 more episodes that we'll see before No Way Home comes out. And then 2 episodes that are on the back end of No Way Home. So I will say... interesting. If we get Kingpin, it won't be until episode either 5 or 6. Because I don't think they're going to because again, if we're getting Kingpin, I think we are getting Charlie Cox. I
we
don't
have to
know
see
that the
Charlie
reverse
Cox
is
first, I
true.
think.
And so yeah, I think we're definitely if we're getting them both, we're going to see Charlie Cox before we see Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think it would be interesting though if No Way Home comes out, because Marvel times all their stuff, and if somehow that affects Hawkeye a little bit. I will be interested in that.
Well,
if they will do something like that.
And there were at least reports that they both shot on the same set. Like at least one scene that they shot on the same set. Now, in terms of timeline, Hawkeye we know is set. I think they said like 2 years after Endgame. So
Okay.
this is like, you know, time has certainly passed since the end of Endgame. This is the latest thing we've seen in the timeline so far, and it seems like No Way Home is picking up kind of right after Far From Home, which was about 6 to 8 months after the events of Endgame. So
Okay.
the timelines wouldn't necessarily match up if that was happening. But who knows?
Yeah.
We don't know the timeline of this Spider-Man movie. Like I said, it seems like it's picking up right after Far From Home, but it might not be. And also,
It might get dragged out too.
yeah, and also we don't know exactly when that post-credit scene of Far From Home, which is the one that's leading into this, was.
Right.
Like it seemed like it was pretty quick after the events,
Yeah, and all
but it doesn't. It could have been a year later for all we know.
yeah, or it could have been a few months later, which pushing it almost to the year part.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know the time frame for that movie because it looks like it might be around Halloween or Christmas, but it could be that he's already been dealing with it for a year and he's trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to stop this? And it took him a while to, hey, look, I figured it out, and now we're pushing to that 2 year mark. So I'm curious though.
There's a lot of questions that will be answered by the time we get to Christmas.
There will be.
We
There
got
will be
4
a
more
lot.
days to Christmas.
4 more days.
According to Hawkeye. We have
Thank you,
like
Hawkeye.
almost a month, really,
Right.
in real life. But
We get a month, he gets 4 days. That's not even fair. I'd like to point this out. I want more now. So on that note, let us know what you think, what Easter eggs you liked in this one, because there was a few Easter eggs I saw throughout the whole thing.
yeah, a lot of fun.
And I want to know, do you think that Echo is not the main villain? Now, I will say this real quick. I really think there's going to be 2 villains going on at the same time. One for Kate, one for Hawkeye. So it will be interesting
Swordsman
to see.
for sure.
Yeah.
And what he's dealt with, and then Echo and maybe someone above
else,
her,
yeah.
or maybe not.
Maybe it's Doctor Doom. So on that
Definitely not Doctor Doom.
note, he wants to come out and play.
If Doctor Doom comes out in the Hawkeye show, I will give you $100 on this show. I will hand you a crisp $100 bill.
Can I call Kevin real quick and be like, hey, just slide this in somewhere, man? Just come on, please. Help a brother out.
Also, Double or Nothing for Mephisto, okay? Because Mephisto's not showing up on this series either.
I really want to see that, but he won't. But on that note, he will show up in No Way Home. I would like to say, let us know what you think. Let us know what villain you want to see come out. Do you think Vincent D'Onofrio is going to reprise his role as the Kingpin? Let us know down below. And of course, check out Facebook, official GYGO, as well as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We're on all of them right now, TikTok, for little bite-sized news that we do. So kind of little stuff like this, but in bite-sized portions. And of course, for anything else that we decide to do, some live streams for Halo and other video games, and maybe some more reviews. There's been 2 that just came out this past week, which was the Halo Infinite multiplayer review and Cowboy Bebop live action. And there's going to be a Ghostbusters Afterlife review. Go check that one out. By that note, I'm Aaron. That's Robert. And this is Get Your Geek On, and stay geeky, guys.
Bye.